I guess when we're talking about, things like depression,
Hmm.
um, you know, you, we all have a little bit of
Yeah.
that nervousness, that energy inside of us.
Hmm.
So we're going to do a series, Silas, on depression, and we're going to break different aspects of depression down. That's why we are doing this and capturing it through this platform and social media. So I'm so glad to have you on.
Thank you.
Um, I'm glad to uh, pull your insight, your wisdom, and all that good stuff. So when we think about depression, a lot of things come to mind.
Yeah.
You think about loss of a loved one.
Hmm.
You think about death. You think about loneliness. You think about uh, rejection.
Yeah.
You think about lack of energy, lack of motivation. You think of chaos and mess, being in a mess, being in crisis. And so I want to break down and talk about the different aspects of the experience of depression. And today I wanted to focus on loneliness.
Awesome.
So, first question right out the gate, Musa, have you ever felt lonely?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. My name is Salis, and I'm also excited to be part of the whole program. Series like this need people who are ready and willing to invest their time to discuss issues of concern that has to do with mental, health. Mental health is very important in our lives. Uh, Mental health is what gets you to wherever you are when we talk of happiness and sadness. In much the same way, our mental health status or the status of our minds depends on how we view things in our world or in our environment. I'm glad you mentioned the word depression for the start because it's a wide, kind of a terminology and it covers a lot of stuff. And one thing that came to mind, which was also in consonance with your speech, was the loneliness that you mentioned. Of course, loneliness for everybody in him as a human being, definitely you may in one way or the other might have felt loneliness. Loneliness is so broad that your definition of loneliness can be different from my definition of loneliness.
Mm.
So when you ask me whether I felt lonely as far as my life in this world is concerned, of course, yes. Maybe what I call loneliness could be something else for you, but I felt it in my own way.
So, so wait a minute, you just said that twice. So tell me your working definition of loneliness then. So you don't give me Webster's definition. I want Silas's definition of loneliness.
Well, loneliness, if you ask me in simple terms, I'll just say that isolating yourself and then having a lot of things, processing a lot of things all by yourself without any distractions from any other person. Loneliness is when you isolate yourself without any distractions and then having things going through your own mind, trying to solve, looking at the pros and cons of whatever comes into your mind.
So according to your definition, loneliness may not necessarily be a bad thing. It
Sure.
sounds like loneliness can actually be healthy in order to, deal with, internal struggles or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see loneliness as something good, or do you see it as bad, or do you see it as both?
Loneliness can be evaluated in both angles. It could be positive, it could be negative. Because once isolate himself and start doing some kind of self-discovery, once you isolate yourself, a lot of good thoughts come to mind, a lot of bad thoughts come to mind. That is why I see it in both. And
Yeah.
I want to take self-discovery as a point, which is one of the pros. Loneliness can provide students with, I'm concerned so much about students because we are dealing with a number of students here, and the future of the world is students. So ourselves, as we are speaking today, we are students of some other people in our lives. So at a point, everybody's a student. So loneliness can provide students or any other person with a space to reflect and understand themselves better, fostering personal growth and self-awareness. So
Right.
yeah, so one of the pros that I can give you is that it enhances self-discovery. It gives you the opportunity to think about yourself, what you can do for the world, what really is it that you can do to benefit the entire environment where you stay or where you live. Yeah, so this is one of the things I want to talk about.
Okay, so you gave me a pro. What's a con? I like Solace. I love the fact that you are spending everything in a positive light. You are you're gonna be my yin to my yang. So
That's
I think
right.
negative, you're gonna take the positive. But I want to hear from you, man. Okay, so we know what a positive
Yeah.
aspect of loneliness could be. What is a negative?
Well, his self-discovery is not even the only first one. It's not only the pros that we can talk about. There are a lot. But let me just touch on the cons, one of the disadvantages or one of the negatives of loneliness. It could bring mental health issues to board, and mental health issues that I'm talking about, it could be prolonged loneliness is what can cause that. If you isolate yourself for a very long time, not trying to be with people, trying to sort issues by yourself, trying to handle issues which you have no idea how expert could have helped you to do it, and you end up handling this thing by yourself, you end up putting yourself in a very tight corner that nobody can
So
help.
social interaction
Yep,
is important to mental health
sure.
because social interaction is like the opposite of isolation, right? Or
That's right. That's right.
that house of loneliness. So why is social interaction play such an important role into our mental health?
Yeah, social interactions gives you some kind of relief. Somebody will say that there is a sense of humor as you deal with people. There is that kind of you get something like support system. When you have friends you move around with, you go to, you have colleagues that you interact with. Issues that we you think like it's loneliness does not become what we call loneliness here. Social interaction gives you that support system that helps you to understand that, well, behind me, a lot of guys got my back. So therefore, if I'm in trouble at all, I can fall back to them and they can help me. So these interactions, as you move on in and out, you try to discuss or discuss your issues with people around you. And somebody's sense of humor alone is therapeutic.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody's comment alone could make or unmake you. So comment with your own colleagues definitely could be
I,
positive or negative.
I can testify.
Oh
There
wow.
have been times where I am in the state of contemplation
All right.
and I end up going to someone and talking about what I'm thinking about, and then they say something that sheds tremendous light on what I was thinking and feeling.
Hmm.
And I can definitely see how important um, having I'm trying to get the right words,
Mhm.
having, having that connection, that social connection can
Mhm.
help get insight. I tell people all the time, we see ourselves in one dimension, but we see everybody else in two dimensions.
Yeah.
So in order for us to really know about what we're saying and what we believe to be true, we have to bounce it off of something
That's
and
right.
how it reacts. And and this is why Christianity or the Christian walk
Mm-hmm.
so tough, because on one end we're supposed to have faith. We're told what to do, and we're told to believe it works, right?
Yeah.
Human nature needs to validate what it experiences by bouncing it off of people and seeing how they respond to it. So if you tell me prayer is powerful and I
Mm-hmm.
need to pray, and then I see someone and I was like, hey, let me pray for you, and they act like prayer is icky or nasty,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, wait a minute, prayer's supposed to prayer's supposed to be a positive thing.
Yeah.
And you have people changing themselves and their perspective from what is good for them
That's right.
based on what is being bounced back socially.
Mm-hmm.
So healthy social interaction. The reason I'm saying this is
Yeah.
healthy social interaction
Right.
is really key, because sometimes we can choose unhealthy social interaction,
Right. Right.
and we can partner with people who will actually trigger us even more.
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about loneliness, one aspect I want to talk about is the loss of a loved one.
Yes.
You've connected with someone, whether for a short period of time
Mm-hmm.
or for an extended period of time. You start to build what we call bonds with this.
Yes. Yes.
You start to incorporate them into your life and the makeup of who you are. They have influence over, sway over you. And so when they are taken out of your life,
Mm.
what seems to be permanently through death, um, you know, that can cause an extreme level of loneliness,
Yeah.
because now there's this missing void. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
And so in that missing void, you may feel lonely. Now,
Yes.
now let me ask you a question. So here's my question to you then. If you can experience extreme loneliness due to loss of a loved one or loss of a friend,
Mm.
is that void fillable? Is
You mean,
that void fillable? Like, does that mean you're gonna feel lonely, or at least partially lonely for the rest of your life? Or is that void fillable?
well, loss of somebody or loss of a loved one could hit anybody. We call the word love, and it means a lot. So loving somebody or somebody as a relation or relative in your life, losing him forever is something else altogether. So once you get or you are hit with this or you are bereaved, there are so many things that come to mind, but you don't have to treat it for a very long time. That could be detrimental to your own mental health. Of course, it is okay to, kind of be bereaved. There is nothing we can do. These are natural causes that we cannot prevent. And once you are hit with this situation, you have to psych your mind that, hey, you cannot stay, you cannot be alone, or you cannot feel loneliness forever. there should be a time limit for everything. So life must go.
Time out. You said a time limit. You're telling me we can put a time limit on our feelings?
Oh yes, you can. I can say yes and I can say no on this, because why do I say time limit? I've got a lot of stuff going on. Uh, Somebody lost of a loved one does not mean a full stop in my life. His life has ended, and mine until it ends. I need to move on. And how do I move on? Once you decide to carry the loneliness, or you want to have that feelings overshadowing your own life, then it means that you are trying to use the lost ones, the lost one, that somebody that you lost, you want to use him to also bring your life to an end indirectly. So therefore, we should set a time limit. You cannot say today or tomorrow, but we have to give you the chance to fade away.
Yeah.
Fading away is what I'm talking about as a time limit here. I'm not talking about completely time limit. You love somebody, it's gone. It could be 100 years, you could still remember the person. It could be 5 days, you could still remember the person. But then again, how do we train our mind to get used to these loved ones and get it fade slowly, so that it will not affect our major decisions and our major stuff in life? These are the things we have to look at. So therefore, in this wise, I can say that there is a time limit for that, because
Right.
your life must go on. That's the point.
I got to tell you, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do believe, like, and it's easier for me to say it out on the other side of grief than it is to say it when I'm in grief, for sure.
Yeah.
So if there's someone going through grief right in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
let me say, like, look, you may feel like you will never get over it. You
Yeah.
will never get to a place of
That's
stability.
right.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's okay to feel that way, because you love someone and you feel the pain and loss of not having that person in your life in that.
Mm-hmm.
But if we are being rational,
Yeah.
see, that can be irrational. I'm not saying in an unhealthy way. Just in this moment, you may feel like you will never get over this. You will
Mm-hmm.
never get past this hump. And that's okay in the moment. That's what you're feeling. That's authentically what you're feeling. But it doesn't mean what you're feeling is rational.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, from a rational point of view, we
Mm-hmm.
know it is not sustainable
Mm-hmm.
to allow yourself to stay in that pit of loneliness and negative feeling for long periods of time, because of the consequences that come with that. And if you are trying to allow yourself to be healthier or to become healthier, you do need to say, okay, I'm going to allot this amount of time to mourn, to allow my emotions to come out.
Mm-hmm.
But once this time is hit, I am going to start the process
Yeah,
of
that's
I
right.
am going to start the process of healing.
Yeah.
And it's important for you to heal for exactly what you said. You're still alive
Yeah,
and you still affect other people and you still have purpose.
that's
Your
right.
time, your time has not yet come.
Yeah.
Your purpose is still important, not only to yourself, but to mankind.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I agree with you 100%, man, that we do need to think about how long do we allow ourselves to mourn,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And okay, so we talked about loneliness, we talked about that, loss of a loved one. in
Mhm.
loneliness. But have you ever been in a crowd of people and still felt lonely?
Oh
You know,
yeah,
like you ever felt like no one gets you or no one sees you?
yeah.
Tell me about that for you. Why is that? How can an individual be in a group of people, be in an exciting place, but feel lonely, unseen, unheard, uncared for?
Yeah, there are so many factors. There are so many reasons why it happens. I have been in a number of countries and I understand what it means here. In a situation where you go to a country or you find yourself in an environment where people have, speak different languages, it could cause this. Where people are speaking and you don't understand, definitely you are isolated. Yeah, this is just a language that I'm using. But then again, if there is a topic which does not interest you in the midst of people that you are, definitely it will cause loneliness. Not just that, in an environment where you feel that people are belittling you, they relegate you to the background, and you say something, you are shunned away. You say something and nobody seems to have heard you because they feel like, well, this is not somebody I have to listen to. I have a very good friend I have to listen to. I don't need to listen to this person. Definitely, you will feel kind of rejected. You will feel kind of disrespected. And once somebody is neglected, loneliness sets in because you are in an environment where you feel a sense of belongingness. And all of a sudden, once you start interacting with people, you end up realizing that, hey, these people don't even see me as somebody who even exists. So therefore, loneliness starts from there. So you start a kind of withdrawal process by getting yourself out of them. But getting yourself out of them too means that you're not going to stay alone because you don't want to trust anybody around you anymore. These people have just rejected you. Where you are going, you are not very sure as to whether they would also do same stuff to you or not. So therefore, you end up having issues with loneliness.
So for me, it also encourages me to set boundaries because sometimes you may have to be in a group. You talked about students, and
Yeah,
you may be in a classroom where you have to interact with your fellow classmates.
yeah,
And you may be on a project with people,
mhm.
even at work,
That's
that
right.
you may not really get along with or know or understand.
Mhm. Right.
And so, one thing you have to do is put boundaries in place, and
Mhm.
let those people know that, hey, you're not going to discount me.
That's right.
You're not going to exclude me.
That's right.
I will speak up anytime I feel excluded from the group because
Mhm.
I have to be here. I need to learn too. I need to participate. I need to get the project done, my work done.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to allow you to exclude me
Mhm.
when I feel like the group is doing so.
Yeah.
Another thing is learning the culture of your group
Yeah.
because you may not feel comfortable because it may be a group that is into something that you're not. And I'll give you a good example, not in a bad way, but I'll give you an example. I remember my first professional job was in Tennessee.
Okay.
Okay, and so it was in I don't know if you ever heard of this area called Calhoun,
Okay.
Tennessee. Um, there is very few African Americans
Mm-hmm.
in this city.
Mm.
And I remember going to a white conference Seventh-day Adventist church.
All right.
And one of the greeters
Okay.
came to me and said, "Hey, there is a church about 20 miles down that way."
All
He
right.
gave me the address, and he says that you may be more comfortable at.
Oh my world.
And I know he meant well. I know he meant well. Like, I know he was trying to make me feel comfortable, but of course it made me feel isolated. Now all of a sudden I'm super hyper aware
Mhm.
that I am around people who are, you know, maybe not don't like me, but definitely noticing me, and I'm different from
Yeah.
people. Now I had a choice to make. I could get in my car
Yep.
and I could, leave,
Mm-hmm.
or I could embrace the environment
Mm-hmm.
and change. And I chose surprisingly and fortunately, I chose to stay.
Sure.
Not only just stay for the service, but for the visitors, they make dinner sometimes, right? So
Okay.
I stayed for the food too. I
So
stayed for church, food, and then there was another service afterwards. But before I left, I felt like I was part of the group. Even the guy that told me about the other church came and he was like, "Man, I'm so glad that you stayed
Mhm.
and that you had a fun time because you were very enjoyable."
Mhm.
It was like it was a very enjoyable
Yeah,
time, and we kicked it, had fun, had a lot of similarities, but I had to get to know and incorporate myself into the environment.
that's right. That's right.
And I think for people who struggle with loneliness, one part of the problem is self.
That's right.
Is what you think
Mhm.
about
Yeah.
yourself
Hmm.
that contributes to what makes you lonely.
That's right. It's true. You're right. You're right.
And when you don't have, and when that reflects in your confidence, when you when
Hmm.
you when you don't have a lot of confidence because you have a negative view about yourself,
Yeah.
that pushes people away.
Definitely. Definitely.
It pushes
Definitely.
people away.
Definitely.
So okay, so we keep it short here, right? So I
Hmm.
want you to give me your top three tools that you would want someone who is currently right now in this moment dealing with loneliness. What are your top three suggestions, tools, whatever that you would give to them to start doing right now?
Or if you are in loneliness, top three.
Top three.
Okay, so top three to deal with loneliness is what we're talking about here. But first of all, you put me in a tight corner as far as my personal experience is concerned and that of the professional aspect. First of all, I want to say that people must build connections. If you are dealing with loneliness, you need to build connections. Reach out to friends, family, acquaintances, and consider joining clubs, volunteering, or participating in community events to meet new people and foster relationship. So this is very important.
I love
And
that.
yeah, sure. So now the second one I can talk about is practicing of mindfulness. Okay. There are issues like techniques like meditation or journaling that can help you reflect on your feelings and cultivate sense of what peace and help you better understand your emotions. Because like you mentioned in your previous one, you mentioned quickly that itself, yourself can get you into positive or negative of loneliness. It all depends on you. Now we also can engage in activities that is pursue hobbies and interests that you enjoy. If you like to play guitar, man, go play guitar. If you like to skate, go skate. And engaging in creative activities, exercises, and learning something new can provide fulfillment and opportunities to connect with others. So these are the three top issues I would like to talk about. So,
All right, so let me give you my top three. Let me give you my top. Let me give you my top. I like your top three, so I'm gonna
thank you.
try to make mine different. All right, so my top three, I think my first one, and they're gonna be a little unorthodox, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute.
All right.
I think for me, when it comes to loneliness, you have to build your self-esteem, your self-awareness, your
Okay.
self-confidence. And what I mean by that is sometimes it takes a little boldness to break through people's shell.
Yeah.
People are so used to putting walls up,
That's right.
are talking behind, you know, a phone screen or a computer screen. Being personable is a lost art,
That's right.
and it requires a little boldness to do so. I have a cousin who I won't mention his name, but he is such a familiar type person. He
Okay.
can get into your bubble.
In a minute.
He can get into your bubble and feel so comfortable. I mean, he'll be cheek to cheek and he'll be talking to you. And I'm like, man, please move. But for him, this is he wish he could be closer. Like this is comfortable for him.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you though, he is well known, well beloved. I mean, everybody in our family know him, love him. You know, he's the closest to everyone, and everyone talks to him because he has the confidence
Yeah.
to engage even some of the tough conversations. You could be mad at him, and you
Wow.
could show all the signs of anger,
Mm.
and he will come up and hug you and give you a kiss on your cheek, and you can't help but be like, oh. My second one, a little unorthodox too, but you have to recognize your value to other people.
Right.
I learned this one through a friend who kept complaining to me that I was short with him. And I'm like, man, I ain't short with no. I love everybody, man. It's just I be trying to move. You know, when I'm at an event, yo, I come and as soon as the event's over, I'm out. I don't know. It's just me. I don't like to linger and talk with people, stuff like that. But he said to me, he said, you know, you don't know how long people have been waiting to talk to you. And that was like so surreal to me. Like I couldn't imagine that. My ego would not let me, you know, accept that people have been thinking about talking with me all week.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I'm a counselor, so I see it a little bit differently now because I know I have clients who I don't see but once a month, and they will say, "Man, you know, I couldn't wait for this appointment to happen." And it's really mine for me. That's why I try not to cancel appointments as
Okay.
much as possible because you don't know what a person has gone through
That's right.
to get to this
This
time period.
point. Mm-hmm.
And you may think, like you said, okay, that's your experience, John, but think about relationships. How often do people in a relationship can't wait all day, get off work just to talk to their partner?
That's right.
Or their girlfriend or their boyfriend.
Yeah.
They can't wait to get
Yeah.
around them. Sometimes overload, but
they still find a way.
yeah, because they recognize that or they see the importance of that person. But you, for yourself, have to recognize that you're important enough to people, even if they don't recognize it, to engage engage them. So
Yeah.
there may be people who may not know you, but if they did, they would value you. And so you got to give them time to do that.
Yeah.
Last but not least, my third, I would say, tool to overcome loneliness or to deal with loneliness is vulnerability.
Okay.
We are so protective of those little embarrassing moments or those shy moments or allowing ourselves to be vulnerable emotionally. But that's when we connect.
That's right.
That's when you connect with someone, when you can, when you can see beyond, whatever mask that they put on. My friends, we can be real with each other. We can say what's really on our mind and not feel like we're gonna push you away or
Mhm.
that you're gonna reject us. And when I connect with them, loneliness is never a part of the picture because they make you feel like you're really family, like we really are bonded.
Mhm.
And so that's my top three
Awesome.
on dealing with loneliness. I want to leave with this, man. I think it's so important because we live in a world with what, like 6, 7 billion people?
Yeah, sure. 7 billion.
Yeah, 7 billion people. Think about that for a minute. There are 7 billion people on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
You are meaningful to someone.
That's right.
You and me, even if you've never met them, you serve a purpose. You have meaning. If you feel like you're lonely or your life doesn't matter, pull up the internet and go look at someone in a third world country or
Mhm.
someone who needs some supplies or
Yeah.
needs to build a well or
Mhm.
need you to build a house or
Yeah.
a church or come and help their community
Mhm.
and go there. Like if you're ready, and I'm serious about it. This is gonna sound a little funny, but
Mhm.
I'm so serious. If you're at the point ready to throw your life away because you just feel helpless and hopeless and so forth. Take a moment before you do that. Go and research where someone is in need. Go help them. Go help them. Like, I mean, if you're gonna throw it all away anyway, go at least do something meaningful before you go. Go help them. Go build a well. Go feed the hungry, the homeless, go sit with the elderly, go read to the children, go do something and tell me if you still feel helpless and hopeless
Mhm.
after you do something like
Mhm.
that. I think it's impossible.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think it's impossible
Mhm.
to feel like you don't belong and you're not connected and your life is worthless
Yeah.
when you go and you do something really meaningful. And you don't need to have a degree. You don't have to do anything
Not at all.
amazing or super smart. You don't have to be a lawyer, doctor to do this. You just have to have a willing spirit to go out, see your fellow man struggling, and do something meaningful to change their life.
That's right. That's right.
You do that and you tell me you still feel like you're hopeless and you're worthless and the world would be better without you. I couldn't imagine it.
Mhm.
I couldn't imagine I don't believe that's possible. And so just some encouragement to the listeners that are hearing this. We're going to continue the series on depression. We did loneliness today, but we're going to hit all of the different areas of depression. Okay. Once again, Silas, my co-partner. I love it, man. You be coming with the wisdom, dude. And I
Thank you
love
very much for having me. I'm very grateful to be here.
it.
Anyway, at any point in time, if somebody is still dealing with loneliness and does not even want to use the tools, I encourage the person to increase creativity whenever he finds himself. I encourage
Yes.
the person because just find a way to come up with something when you have found yourself all alone, something that will benefit you and the entire environment, or at least the next door neighbor. Think about it. Don't always think about the fact or the statement, which is a misconception that people have in the world, that when we say loneliness, it's always negative. It is not. Look at things or perceive things positively. and you get a positive result. If you perceive things negatively, definitely you may want to face those consequences, which we don't want. And it's the reason why we want to share the little that we have with you. So try and encourage creativity in your life whenever you find yourself all alone. If you're a student too, man, I just want to encourage you to also make sure you concentrate on your studies. Anytime you find yourself all alone, come up with something that you can speak in the class that people will say, man, where did you get this one? How did you think about this? Use loneliness as positive tool and a weapon to be on top of your class. Don't just use loneliness for something else.
I love it. You always put that positive spin on it, man. Also remember, counseling is available. Man, having a counselor is worth its weight in gold.
That's
If you
right.
have access to counseling, make sure you do. Our company is A Touch of Peace counseling services. We have a variety of different backgrounds that work with us. Would love to help you out. Look us up. Once again, Silas, thank you, man. Appreciate you. We'll keep it pushing. And always remember, stay in touch with peace.
Thank you so much. And that's all we have for today. I hope Mr. John Ruffin has all the experience. You may want to get in touch with him anytime. Thank you.
All right.